So this is a game between Marilyne and Basso. It is a equal game, so we will only be talking about moves you should make in a equal game. So let's start. With the first few moves, I would always recommend that this is fine, but I would just prefer that it's just better to always approach your opponent. It creates much simpler variations rather than you having to deal with going to the side and then working with how to deal with the stone on the side. So it's better to just start with the corners. Even though your opponent can get this later, you can also take a side later, so you don't have to worry too much about it. So it's always best to just approach your opponent, finish the corners, then you move on to the sides. So yeah, this is fine. This is not the best answer. We kind of want to just back off or play a joseki like this, even if we want to. The best method is always to back off in case you don't really know what to do, because this just kind of secures your relative area and you're not in too much danger, and black has many opportunities to either back off or play this joseki or even this joseki, so you're not gonna be in too much trouble. So it's always best to just play very simple josekis, and if you're not sure what joseki to play, just back off and then see if they play a variation, if you can either figure it out or try and Google some common 4/4 josekis, which are very important. So yeah, this is not the best because black can simply make a base with this stone, and in the future if white has not played here, then if black gets an opportunity to play here, you will just be in terrible shape, because now you will have to want to invest this one more stone to try and secure your corner, and that's just too much. When we play a 4/4 point, the whole point is to build from the sides, and it's kind of a flexible kind of thing. We're not really going for the corner specifically. So going for the corner with a 4/4, you're trying to force something that shouldn't work. If you just didn't want to deal with this, then the best thing you can do is just start at a 3/4. That allows you to have the corner and then make variations where you kind of keep the corner. Yeah. Okay, yeah, this is a bit too early for black, and it's a bit too far. Best thing always to do is don't rush it, right? The game works simply just by, if your opponent doesn't play the best move, they kind of lose anyways because you're more efficient. So always best to just secure our stones, right? Like if I do this and my opponent does this, I still have sente. Now I get to make another move, and then I can come here, right, and destroy this side itself like how I wanted. And now my opponent has played this, right? And in any situation, we would never expect our opponent to play this into let's say we played this, and then they would never play 3. So we always want to just very simply be okay with our opponent taking the move to secure themselves, because it's always going to be gote, and we get to keep sente and continue playing forward. So that's a bit too early. Okay, interesting move. This seems decent by black. Yeah, that's also fine. White seems to be making a bit too many wide moves, so I would be very, very careful of invasions like this and like this later for black, because these are very easy points that black can just destroy the whole section because you're too far apart. But it's okay, black can back off, but if you really do want to back off, this would be the better back off. This is a bit too far, or if you want, you can just secure your stone here because of the amount of strength these stones have. So yeah. Okay, again, weird, what we don't need to split. Best thing to do is just approach our opponent from the direction where the side is the widest. Here the better thing to have done is this. Because now you see that you have these stones, right? And you always have to know whether your group of stones are strong or weak. And in this point, these are very strong, right? And if I put white like this and it does make a 2-space base, I have many opportunities to slide under that white really can't just do whatever and try to disconnect me, because I have many opportunities to just connect back. So yeah, this is not the best result for white, and I get to keep my corners, and the side becomes very uninteresting because it's too small for white to care about. Like, if white ever gets any points here, it's not worth anything. So yeah, so this was actually a better result for black. So yeah, pushing your opponent towards your weak stone is not good. We always want to push them towards our stronger stone, where we can take some damage. Okay, it's a bit, these moves are a bit weird. I mean, I guess this works, but a better manner would just be that you can just do this, because if your opponent does try to take some shape here, you can kind of block them, and as much as they want some area over here, you're kind of fine with them living in this section because your groups are fine. Here normally the variation is always something like this or this. This here would be the better variation because it's more of a wave shape, so it makes the shape a bit stronger for white to not be able to do too much to it. And this is going to be bad for white because normally with the variation we want our stone to be here, but then there's not much distance, so white is kind of a bit over concentrated, which is not the best result for white. So yeah, taking this exchange seems a bit unnecessary. This is a weird move, playing Tengen. I'm understanding that you maybe don't want a ladder. That's why you might have played here. So let's say you played elsewhere and you are afraid that this ladder works, but you can kind of just capture it. So it's good to always read what your stones are doing and what the shape structure is, and read out if my opponent does cut and fight me, am I able to take all the damage? And here you kind of are. So as white here, the best movements here I would be thinking about would be maybe to even try some attachment over here and see if I can kind of fight this, which would be fun. Or maybe even if I want to just be peaceful, I can even reduce and like push my opponent or whatever, and then like just come out and keep my opponent low while also building myself up, and then I have potential of reducing this side, where then I can build some sort of wall and influence in this direction. So yeah, this is a bit too deep, because black has many opportunities to come out, and if you were to really fight them, you kind of destroy yourself. So we never want to make something like this, which is the elephant's eye, unless both groups are fine and we can let black run out. So yeah, this is not the best result. Actually, it's not really even a good result. It's not really good for us. We always want to keep our stones somewhat connected. So black comes from this direction. This is the wrong direction. We always want to see where we can split our opponent. We always have to remember that making our opponent have more groups to handle is always good for us, because one solid group makes more points than multiple small groups because they require more stones. So always think about like moves like splitting our opponent, right? Because here, even if our opponent tries to come in, we still have a lot of ample space to just survive with ice, and our goal with this group will just be to keep these two groups separate because these stones are not alive yet. So yeah, again, white gets somewhat of the idea here. Again, as black, I would think about trying to fight this and maybe even cutting over here and seeing if there's stuff I can do. So like I can even take this kind of damage, and then if white successfully like gets this, I can get this. And white's group here also is not in the best shape, so black has a lot of stuff that it can do. So black, again, you have to remember these are large knights, and even small knights can be cut. Like these small knights can be cut, so making these shapes close to our opponent is not good ever, because that causes them to have opportunities to cut you and fight you. So we always want to be stronger closer to where our opponent is stronger. So yeah, these are not great shapes. If you're trying to surround, you can gently surround from the outside. You don't have to immediately go for an attack or a kill. So yeah, you can see how this makes the structure very disgusting for black, right? If I start to come out here, what are you gonna do? If you try to block me, I can still run this way. Then you have to come back and fix this. And in one move, white is connected, and then these stones are in danger, right? Because white can just play somewhere over here. Let's say you don't play this, and white can start to just try and kill these stones, and this is not a very good result, because you know black doesn't have a lot of points here. This can still be reduced a lot. This has been destroyed. This group is also not in the best shape, so we always want to keep good shape when we're trying to like run with our opponent. So okay, yeah, this attachment is weird. We have a hole in our opponent's shape, just poke through it. Making weird attachments is not gonna cause us to have the best result. So yeah, here, I mean, I would still care about this group like somewhat. If our opponent does this, then we can even come down to take some shape and then like connect back if we really need to, so that we can fight. Because again, these stones are not super important to save immediately. They are in the center, very hard for them to die yet, so we can take some damage with them and run them out, especially because now we have a group here that's not completely surrounded and there's some ample amount of space. And if you do want to save this group, the better shape point is this, because then it threatens to capture these stones. So then black will have to maybe even play this or something so that it doesn't get captured, or maybe play this variation where, you know, now it's a ladder, and then this is terrible for white. Now we've basically given most of these points if we don't connect back. And you know, again, what is this group doing in the center? It's floating. It's not really doing anything. That's why we always emphasize on corner side center. We always want to make sure that we have strong foundations that we are building into the center with. So yeah, again, like black is kind of fine here. White is trying to run away, but running away with really wide moves. If you want to run away, the better things to do is just simple jumping is fine. Like here, if I want to run this group, I would just jump towards my stones, and I would keep it somewhat secure. I don't need to jump too far. I have no urgency to run immediately, because my opponent can't just do this. I have too much space in between, and I can play any move here and I can still connect to my group. So yeah, so we don't have to like run really fast. It's unnecessary. Okay, again, large knight's move is again too wide and too big, especially when white has so many opportunities to attach over here and maybe even like split the groups. Like even if you try to fight this, maybe because of the shape, you won't be able to deal a lot of damage, because white can kind of live here, and then you kind of split your groups, and then again it's not really good in this situation. Okay, yeah, this is a good move. This is an attachment. Always remember, with the attachment you always want to hane. Hane is always best, and then just keep the shape. Keep your stones strong. Answer your opponent if it's really necessary. Don't rush any other moves. this is a decent move to rush, but now you can see how this kind of Hane helped. If you had Hane, maybe you wouldn't be in a situation where white can kind of connect the stones. But even with the connection, white is not in the best shape, because again, if black does this, then can descend. You can see the black has a lot of opportunities to push white around, and even though white lives in this area, this is not a very good area for white to live in. So I guess white is trying to fight and make all this. Here the best move is just this. If they connect, you are outside, you have ways to run, so you have a lot of liberties. These stones can't escape, they'll die very easily, so you don't have anything to worry about, especially now that if white doesn't play moves like this to make eye shape, then this whole group dies because it's surrounded. So yeah, you can see now, because you didn't play the right move, you allowed white to make shape. Most of the time the best thing to do is just do this and prevent our opponent from making any form of shape over here, and then maybe we can even do this, and this completely kills our opponent. They have no way of making two eyes, and we are not surrounded, so we can't die. So yeah, this kind of gives our opponent too much. Here we should have just taken and maybe played the Ko if we had to. Kind of unnecessary the way that we played. So yeah, this is decent ideas. Here just again extend. Our opponent can't play this yet because we can capture, and if they do this we can still connect back, and they only have one eye, so we're still fine. So reading is very important. So you can see how, like, yeah, it's better to always just read. Okay, at least black's group is still fine here to take the damage. So I think the game kind of ends around here due to a timeout. So mostly here what I would talk about is making sure that black understands how to use a strong enough shape of a group and try and split our opponent, and white needs to learn to not, and both players also do need to learn to not make very wide moves like large knights, because those moves can be cut. Even the knight's move can be cut. So we always want to keep our shape and structure relatively solid, closer to our opponent. The further we are from our opponent, the more wider moves we can make, but also depends on our strength. If we are making a very strong group, we can jump very far with our strong group. So that's how we want to think about it. So yeah.